Hello everybody, my name is Carrow Brown. I am an urban fantasy author and I also write romance under the name of Faye Black, and we are here today on this wonderful November of 2022 to not talk about NaNoWriMo, but actually to talk about planning. If you are new and you have not seen any of my content that has been previously on this channel, I am actually a really big planner. I don't do really a lot of big planning videos, and I don't always talk about my systems very often for two reasons. One, I like to focus a little bit more on the writing craft and talking about being a writer in today's world and things like that. But the other reason is because my planning system tends to evolve every 3 months. But we are getting to the end of 2022, and usually what happens around this time frame is I start thinking about the next year. Actually, to be really honest, I've been thinking about the next year since March. So, but with that has kind of come like a learning experience and some growing and a lot of developing as a planner that I really wanted to share with you guys, because as we move closer into 2023, a lot of us are going to be looking at how we plan, what works for us, what doesn't, and I want to share a little bit of that learning curve with you along with my current planning system, so that way you can kind of take a look at, see if it's something that you want to try or figure out if it works for you or doesn't. Now, if you haven't tried making a planning system on your own, so there's like a couple different ways that you can do that. You can get a pre-planner or pre-printed planner like Clever Fox, which highly recommended, good product. Not for me, but I have seen a lot of people use it with success, and I have recommended it to individuals and seen it work very well for them. I am a kind of person where I just have to make my own spreads. I've realized that it's more of like a way for me to like kind of think and process things, and that gives me like that time to do like that decompression of like what's worked and not worked and going forward. And the other thing is that like I mentioned earlier, my system tends to change every 3 months, and the reason it changes every 3 months is because what's going on in my life is changing pretty much every 3 months. At the beginning of 2022, I really had like 1.5 jobs, and then that turned into 1 job, and then my main job, which is over at Rippaverse, exploded in July, if you guys are not aware, and that ended up taking a big priority. And then I was kind of doing a juggling act of staying on top of all my tasks, making content, writing books, everything else, and now that's kind of brought me to the current system that I have. Now, I don't really want to make this video too much about my year of working with planners. If you guys would like to have a video like that where I'm kind of exploring like the learning process of what worked and didn't work and kind of see that transformation, then I'll make that video. Just leave a comment down below. But what I would like to focus on is the current system that I'm using right now, which is in this little passport right here. He's little but thick. So this passport, and then once I get done talking, I'll switch views so that way you guys can take a look at how I have the spread set up and why it looks the way that it does. But this ended up happening because a little earlier last month I had to go over to Texas, and when I was in Texas, I was currently using a Hobonichi planner, and don't get me wrong, Hobonichi planner, completely outstanding, but if you take a look, it's a little thick too, and I really didn't want to have to drag that all over the warehouse with me, and it's turned into a bit more of a memory keeper, so my thoughts and feelings and stuff are in there. And not that I felt like anybody in the warehouse was going to do anything. They're my thoughts and feelings. They can just stay in the hotel room. But literally 2 days before I got on the plane, I was looking at it and knew that it wasn't going to work. And I already had one of these extra cases from a previous time. And I was like, you know what, I'll just throw some inserts in there because I had those inserts, and I will figure it out as I go. And I'm not gonna lie, it ended up working out really well, and I've spent a little bit of time since I got back kind of redefining this, and it's been working pretty well. But I will also say that I have hit the 3-month mark of when my systems tend to change, so maybe it's my system needs to change, or maybe I'm looking for something new and exciting. We'll find out. But let's go ahead and take a look at this sucker. So here he is. You know, I think I'm supposed to have like some decorative stuff on here. Hold on, I gotta be like a real planning video. Hold on, guys. Got stamps. Okay, hold on. Here we go. And we'll put a pen here, right? Because bitches love pens. Okay. Oh, wait, I want to talk about those too. Okay, so anyway, so this is my planner, right? And it's a little passport. It's a thick passport. Originally, it could fit into my pocket, but obviously it's gotten a little bigger. But in comparison to the one that I used to have, which is the Hobonichi, this one is a little bit easier to run and take around. And I've definitely been leaning towards just sticking to this and carrying it around with me because it's just easier. And it goes back to having less friction with what it is that you're trying to do. Now this guy, and I don't have a name for him. Some people like to name their planners, and I haven't done that with this one. So definitely he energy. So if you guys would like to pick a name, go ahead and throw those suggestions in the comments. So one thing I will say is that everything in here is still relatively new. So the elastic is still really strong. The cover won't bend or lay flat quite very well. So if you're looking and seeing that, it's because just everything just hasn't been broken in, and that's typical when you're working with stuff like this. The first thing that I have right here is a little fabric insert, and this is actually just where I keep my money at, because again, this is the thing that I take with me out and about. and it's something that I have worked around this insert right here, and on the other side is my business card. So when I'm walking and I'm talking to somebody, either about Rippaverse or whatever, I have my business card right here, so I just take it out, hand it to somebody, and tell them to shoot me an email. The first insert that I have right here is it's the level 10 life, that's what I call it. And what that is for is helping me stay hyper focused on the things that are actually meaningful. And you'll find if you are working on creating your own system, that's really easy to get lost in the weeds, or you'll do what I like to refer to as productive procrastination, which is where you go work on something else for a short period of time because you want to feel like you're getting something done, but you're not actually working on the thing that needs to get done. Within this, the very first thing that I have is sticky notes in case I have to, do additional sticky notes, and my entire desk is covered in these, so if that's something that you guys notice, that's why. So within the level 10 life is usually it's 10 places in your life that you're working on, but for me it's really just 6 because the other ones don't apply to me at this current time. And for me, I like to focus on my marriage, professional development, giving, family and friends, health, and my career. And these are things within 3 months that I would like to get knocked out. And you'll notice that this part right here is covered up. That's just a private thing between me and my spouse, so I hope you guys will forgive me. Again, these are kind of like the overall quarterly goals of things that I would like to get done. And I use that to help me when I am working on my month spreads. And my month spreads, I think November will probably be better, is really more of like, my obligations and things that I have to get done over the course of the month. These aren't my habit trackers or anything else like that. These are more like my time eaters. I think that's a better way to say it. And at a view, it just kind of lets me see overall what's eating my time, where am I spending, and I've got like this little key right here, so that way at a glance I can just take a look and see all the stuff that's going on right there. And then here's a blank one for December if you guys want to see what that looks like. It's just markers. I've just put the dates here in light marker, and as you can tell, as I continue, they get covered up pretty quickly. And that's really it for that insert. I don't really try to get too carried away in this one because, again, like I said, everything changes every 3 months. But this is the inserts, good ink impressions. I've been really happy with this paper quality, and I really like it is a company in Spain, so if that's somebody that you're looking at working with, it's going to take a little while to ship for you. I learned about this from Lindsay Scribble, who also works in a passport planner, and she was showing us her planning system, and I was like, I need to have those. So again, giving credit where credit's due and all that. But let's move on to the next one, which is my weekly goals. I will say that this is probably my most least interesting, mostly because I haven't figured out a way to do this in a way that's meaningful for me. Right now, I kind of have it broken up into days, and a little bit later, I thought maybe I should try and change the day layout so that way it looks more pretty. And yeah, it looks pretty, but I don't know if that's actually going to help me. So more than likely, this is where I'm going to have a little bit more of my learning curve. I'm considering switching to the Alistair method, which worked in one weekly spread that I had for about 6 months. But again, we're talking about things that work and don't work. And the way that I used to use the Alistair method earlier in 2022 worked, but I don't know if it's going to work right now. Typically what happens in here is I will write down the things that I have to get done over the course of the week. This was so as you can tell, everything that's crossed off are things that I did not get done, and I either didn't get them done because I was sick, or it didn't happen, which is something when you're working with daily or weekly systems like that to take a look at and ask yourselves, why didn't it work, what got in the way, so on and so forth. And if you guys are curious about these things here in the corner, these are page starts, and this is just what I use, so that way when I'm looking here, I can, just go straight to the week that I'm on. If it's not perfect, but it definitely doesn't stick out. I used to have some tabs that would stick out, but I kept cutting my fingers on them, so I had to switch that to something else. But yeah, so these are the weeklies, and the way that it works is that when I go to plan my following week, I'll come right back here and take a look at what's going on in my calendar and make sure that I'm realigning myself with the priorities that I have for that quarter as well. And if something's going on where that's not allowing me to be able to do that, then I take a look and see what needs to change, because that's part of what we do in the review process is, right here, I'll probably write something along the lines of, I didn't get a lot done because I was recovering from COVID. And, that's fair, right? Now, this last insert is probably going to be the one that's super busy, and this is the one that's the dailies. And I do have a lot going on here, so I'm trying to find today. Here we go. I even have it bookmarked, y'all. So this is what my daily spread tends to look like. On one side, I have the to-do list of things that need to get done at the very top priority, right? So my priority today was to get a YouTube video out. So obviously I'm working on that. And anything that needs to get done during the course of the day, these other items will probably get added. But I make this the day before. So right before I go to bed, I'll take a look at the following day and see what needs to get done And this has been a changing process as well, because I just started this layout yesterday, and before it used to look a little bit more like this. And you will find that this always has frequent sticky notes in here. Like this had all my flight information for when I was flying around in Texas and all that stuff, and I keep it in there in case I have to like refer back to it later. And speaking of referring back to it later, once I get done with an insert, what happens is it goes into a box. Like I'll date the front of it, and I'll keep it for about a year, and then after that I'll go through it and see if there's anything in there that I need to keep, and if I don't, then I recycle it. But if there's some stuff in here that's really relevant, then I'll go ahead and pull it out and do whatever. Priority list right here, anything that I need to remember. This is a gift I need to make for somebody. Anything that I've eaten during the day, and this is just my agenda for the day so far, and I tend to fill it out as I go. So I'll come back in here and put record YouTube video right here. On this side right here, this is pretty much where I will jot down anything that's going on or that I need to remember. So for example, a note that I left myself is I need to update the video descriptions for my videos because I've got pre-orders that are coming out. I actually had to file a return for some Raycons because the left ear is not working, and then I need to text my Susan about the visit that we may or may not be doing this week. So are two things that I just like to do. I like to do the word of the day with my husband. And then, so what I do is I find the word of the day, I listen to the podcast, I write down the definition, and find out the origin of the word. And lots of words have origins in French, so that's always fun. And then whatever the tarot of the day is. So that is my daily. I probably spend the most time in this section overall, but I'll tell you what, it really helps me, because when I have to flip back, people ask me a question or anything like that, this usually is my lifesaver. And I'll put meeting notes and stuff in here too, and like you guys saw earlier, sticky notes galore, right? So and that's kind of what I really like about these particular inserts, is that they aren't really thick. When they bulk up, it's not too cumbersome, and it still fits mostly. I say that, but again, it's a thick boy, right? And that brings us to our last insert. So full disclosure with this insert, so this is an experiment. This is pretty much like I think it's called a collections, right? It's a collections, it's a habit tracker kind of thing. And I put it in the very back because there's some things that I would like to keep an eye on, but I'm really bad about it, and I really just didn't want to fit it into these three things right here. And I don't know if I'm going to keep it or not, which is why I put it in the back, but I'm going to make the attempt at it. So, and obviously I have like stickers decorating everything, because if I make it pretty, I'll use it, right? But part of what I want to do with this, and I do this in the Hobonichi, but I haven't done it in here, is this spread right here is the media that I digest, like what TV, books, manga, anime, movies am I watching. And earlier, this wasn't really a priority for me, but because one of the jobs that I work is, working with people that are in film and TV, when they ask me questions about some of the stuff that's come out and I don't know the answer, that doesn't really reflect well on me. So what I do is I've got the name, what it is, and then my rating next to it. And let me pull out the one I have for my Hobonichi. So this is what it looks like in the Hobonichi. So over here I've got the names of all the items and then what it is right here. And if you take a look, a lot of it is books. I read a lot of books. And then again, this is the star rating, so that way I'll know if I really like it or not. This book right here, I obviously really loved it, which is why I gave it little hearts and stuff like that. And like I think there was this one, oh yeah, the 5-second rule, that was a self-help book. I gave it a 1. Was not very impressed with it. But yeah, so it's just got kind of like a quick reference tool that I can go back and look at. It's not a lot of movies, and that's something that I want to improve on, because I do want to watch more movies with my spouse and our friends, so that way we have like more things to talk about. And again, this is the big memory keeper, so a lot of the stuff that I tend to put in this guy right here will at some point be transcribed into here, because the one thing I definitely want to do with this planner is I want it to be the record account of how the next year of my life goes, because I really feel like it's going to be a very exciting time, and I want to have that memory keeping for myself. It comes down to like, where's the friction at and how do I reduce it and stuff like that. So anyway, so that's the intention for this. It's blank because I just made this book like literally last night. And I got a couple of pages of that. This thing right here, it doesn't have anything decorative. This is just my weight tracker. I have been trying to be healthier this year, and I will say that I have dropped from 172 pounds down to 146 in the course of the year. And at this point, I'm looking to kind of maintain that weight, or maybe shift it towards muscle and not fat kind of thing. So, but the one thing that I know that I have to do, which some people don't like doing, is I have to weigh myself every day. Now, I'm not going to weigh myself every day and record it. What I'm going to do is just record when there's a change. So I still weigh myself, but if I go up or down a pound or anything like that, then I'll put it in here just so that way I have that record. And it's something I can give to the doctor too, so I like doing that. This is a work in progress. This is a cleaning list. And what I was gonna do was as I'm making a list of items that are cleaning chores, I was gonna take a D20, that's what we call it, so like a dice, and I was gonna roll it, and whatever number it fell on, that was the chore that I was gonna do. But obviously I wrote 31 on here. So that didn't work out quite like I was thinking when I made this. It doesn't matter because these things have to get done anyway. And then here, this is my my health stuff. So when I go to the doctor, when I get my eyes checked, all that stuff. And then over here, any health notes that I might need to bring to any of those professionals when I go see them. And if you guys, one thing you guys are gonna notice is that everything that's in here isn't really something that happens in the course of like 3 months. It's usually like 6 months or longer, so I just wanted to keep it all in one place that was easier to do. This I'm still working on. This is a no spin challenge. I have a really bad retail therapy habit, and one of the things that I wanted to do moving into 2023 was to curb that a little bit more. And part of that would be, I've just started it. You can't really see it because the ink's very light, but I have dots on here for every day of the month, and I'm going to have that go across. And then what I'm going to do is if I don't spend money on that day, I like put a cross on it. So, and then this will be my waiting on. So things that I do end up buying, I'm waiting on them. When did they get here, so to speak. And I used this in a previous planner and it worked really well, because one thing that I'm kind of bad about is forgetting when I order stuff. And then here I've got a keep in touch tracker. So one of the big goals, right, that I have in here is friends and family, and part of that is, you know, sending letters, texts, reaching out to them, and all that. So this will be me trying to figure out who I'm staying in touch with, how frequently I am, how I did it, text, letter, phone call, face call, stuff like that. And then here we move into the habit tracker section, and this will probably be a big pain in my ass, mostly because of the page size. So again, the downside of working with a passport system is that there's not as much space to work with. So one of the things I had to think about when I was making this was how do I get what I'm working on and have it fit. So pretty much what I've done is the habits that I am working on currently for the month of November is I have it right here, and I fold it, and then I just do the dots down across the way. And hopefully that will just keep working. And if this doesn't work, then I'm going to fix it, because I don't really like to keep systems that don't work. And this is the only one I have set up. The rest of the following months are not done. But these are just things that, you know, I want to do to help me on a daily basis be better as a human being. So that is that insert. And again, this is a big experiment. I'll probably know in like 2 months if I'm going to keep it or not. And if not, I'm going to check it out. So one thing I do want to go back to again, and this is if you are thinking about doing this and you're kind of in love with the idea but you haven't actually like done anything for it. I mentioned before that this can sometimes be like a money consuming process, right? Now the inserts themselves from Good Impressions, again, it's from a company that's in Spain, so you will have to, you know, pay the euro for that and wait for that to get to you. The marker that I usually use for this is actually going to be this Copic marker, and again, I'll put that in the video description down below. The marker that I used for writing all of this stuff is Tombow marker, and those are $3 each. And if you're like me and you want to collect them all, they have a lot of markers. So I would encourage you that if you're going to actually do that, to just do so carefully and only get the colors that you want. If you want to get a kit, because they do have Tombow kits, keep in mind that they'll have duplicates in there. Like I have a whole jar over there of just nothing but duplicates that I don't know what to do with. I might gift them to some friends over Christmas. And then this is a washi tape that my friend Brandon got me for my birthday. It's just days of the week, and so what I do is instead of writing it out, I just kind of rip it off and put it right on there, which I really do like, and that's probably one of my favorite washi tapes. And again, just as a reminder, it will bulk up your paper pretty substantially. So and that's just like the downside. Some people like thick planners and some people don't, but it really depends on you. And then right down here, these are stamps. So you can get like a stamp kit off of Amazon for like maybe $10, or you can get ones that like clink together, so that way you can just go through. But again, if you're thinking about doing it and you haven't done it before, go through the items that I have listed down below and do some quick math and decide if that's going to be an investment for you. On the flip side, you really don't need to do a lot of the decorative stuff if that's not something that you want to do. Like the original method by writer Carrow was really just like a pen and a spread and moving on, and I'll find a video where he talks about how to do that. But yeah, so I always want to throw out the disclaimer that getting it to kind of look this way does cost money. And if you do a little bit of perusing, there's some people that do like watercolors in their journals, and they do a whole bunch of stuff. But this is really how I do it, and I try to keep it as cheap 50 as I can. So that's it. That's my system. Right now it's very getting shit done, right? Identifying the things that you want to work on, what that looks like, setting it up, moving forward, and checking it off as you do it. And again, this is pretty much going to be the system that I'll use for at least 3 months, and then see how it evolves after that. And once more, again, if you're interested in any of those items that you saw in the video, we'll definitely put those down below for you if you're interested in implementing that into a system that maybe you want to try. And I know that I did spend a little bit of time harping about cost, and the reason I do that is because, again, it's very easy to get lost in the weeds when you're making these things. You'll go out and you'll get like a whole bunch of markers, or you'll get like a whole bunch of stamps and stuff, thinking that you'll need them, and then you don't actually end up implementing them. So when you, granted these ones I do use, just true story. But so what I really would like to encourage you guys to do is, if you are revamping or working on your system, like, be really honest with yourself. Like, don't be like, this time it will be different. And that's kind of why my system's always changing, because, you know, again, this time won't be different. This time needs to get stuff done. So if you are taking a look at what's going to work or save time for you or make things easier for you, like, find the way that's like the least amount of friction. Writer Carrow method, again, as I mentioned earlier, is really good. It's very minimalistic. It's literally a notebook and a pen, and that's pretty much it. So that's my system. If you guys have your own video in regards to your future planning system that you would like to share, or if there's one that you're implementing, please, I'd say leave a link to that video down below, but YouTube usually flags those comments, so if you could just leave me like the name of the channel and what video it is, I'll go look it up. But yeah, so feel free to kind of share what you're doing, what you're working on, and because one, I'm very curious. I like to see how other people plan their days, and two, there could be somebody that's popping in here that's trying to figure out how to, you know, get things done and looking for a way that works for them. I'm using, you know, a travel notebook system. Somebody might use a ring system, which is basically a ring notebook, or somebody else may be doing it completely digital on Notion. I had everything on Notion for a short period of time, but again, I ended up switching over for reasons. And as a reminder from, I think at some point I said in the video, if you would like me to sit down and kind of talk about the evolution of my planning process of 2022, I am happy to kind of go over that. It's definitely been my most dramatic, because I just was struggling so hard to like get my stuff together, and I feel like I've gotten there. I feel like things are happening. But yeah, so send me that information, let me take a look at it, and then hopefully other people will take a look and get some inspiration and move forward with what they would like to do with that as well. Now that brings us towards the end of the video, and this is where I do a little bit of self-promotion. So if you guys aren't aware, I am an author. I do have some self-published works out. If you would like to peruse those, I've got all those links down below for your review and consideration. Would be thrilled if you bought something, even more thrilled if you left a review for the product. On Halloween, I came out with a book about tarot cards, which is just a guilty pleasure project of mine that I have loved for a very long time, and I wanted to write a book about them, so it's out there in the world. It's got everything in there from like meanings of cards, if cards are people, situations. I've got like little fun Carrow storytime stuff in there if you guys are interested about little tidbits of my life relating to cards. So that's available. And then I am still doing the Power Hour for NaNoWriMo. That's basically a 1-hour stream where we write together and try to achieve the daily word count together as much as we can. So I think that's going to be it. Thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with me today, and I'll talk to y'all again real soon. So bye.